Hello and welcome, guys, to another episode of my podcast here from inside the European Parliament. Today with Miss Mela, who is not only a fashion icon, an actress, and an activist, but also the first global Miss Trans 2020. And today we're going to talk about some LGBTQAI plus related issues, her work as an activist, my work in the intergroup. Happy to have you.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much. Thank you for letting me visit you and have this moment.
How would you introduce yourself to the world?
Um, if there's one thing that can describe about me, I'm a dreamer. I'm a
Yeah, like that,
go-getter.
like that.
I'm a go-getter. Um, I make things possible.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, so I can resonate to that.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I think also we're gonna see something of that today. But
Mm-hmm.
first of all, you told me that this is your first time visiting the European Parliament.
Mm-hmm.
What's your first impression when you came into the building? What was the feeling like for you?
I was nervous actually.
Yeah,
Excited but nervous at the same time because I don't know what it's like to be inside the EU Parliament. I've been to the Philippine Congress a lot
yeah,
of times. It's very strict for sure because I know that it's a political venue, but also at the same time, I'm excited to see it, the physical and the people, because I believe that the EU has been fundamentally advanced in
yeah,
terms of promoting LGBTQIA plus rights. I wanted to meet you
yeah.
personally, and I want to thank you for standing with us because that speech of yours in the parliament really hit me. Because at a time like this, in which we see some changes, some
Yeah,
setbacks
yeah.
in the movement, seeing a leader like you
Thank
who
you.
voice out their allyship for us, it means a lot to me as a trans person that there is someone out there who will still hold my hand, who will still hold our hand in the middle of these dark times.
I'm very thank you that you said that. And I I had 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago I had another episode of my cooking show,
Uh-huh.
also with an LGBTQ plus activist from Cologne, and he told me that there is not many allies who have a loud voice out there, um, and that's why he was also he said something similar than you did, and I was a little bit surprised about that. So now I don't want to put myself into a light now here. Don't get me wrong, but I thought that there is more people that are allies who are loud and clear to see and use their position.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me that especially for straight men,
Mm-hmm.
there's basically nothing like that,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know.
It's magical. It is magical. I mean, um, I've I have friends. I have a lot of friends who call themselves allies. Um, and I've met people who would say I'm an ally.
Yeah,
But it's also another thing to live by your allyship. And living by your allyship means standing and
yeah,
voicing up what you want for the community, what you can do for the community, because it's a concrete manifestation of your allyship. One way is saying you're an ally, but when we see your actions, when we see that you do this act of really protecting us, it's it's beyond gratitude.
I think more people should do it actually as a politician. For me, it's a no-brainer. Like, how are we a free society if not everyone
I have a
is?
question about that. Why
Yeah,
is it a no-brainer for you?
naja, every human being is like it is, and it should be. And I I never understood in my life the concept of discrimination. That's the thing. It makes no sense for me because I want I want to have a peaceful life, right? That's my first as a human being. I want to have a peaceful life. I want to be taken care of. I want to do what I want to do. I want to be free. So, first and foremost, just from a very egoistic perspective, when I start to worry now about other people and how they are and what they do, that is gives me negative emotions. No,
Mm-hmm.
so if I have a problem with someone and I'm thinking the whole day how I have a problem with that person, then that ruins my day. I
Mm-hmm.
don't want my day to be ruined. I want to be
Uh-huh.
left alone. And on the other hand, I can only be sure to be left alone when everyone else is left alone.
Mm-hmm.
Because as soon as there are some people who have to fear repression and have to fear to be persecuted, I can be next.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I never understood how you actually want to discriminate people, how you want to take rights away from people. Just let people live, and and especially when it comes to anti LGBTQ plus sentiment.
Mm-hmm.
If we are honest, 90% out of it is just out of religion and the strong Christian or sometimes Muslim tendencies that are formed many societies. And aren't we just above that? Aren't we just at the point in history where religion does not define our politics anymore? I thought, I hoped.
That is a
So,
very complex issue, if I may
yeah,
raise. For me, as I look back in history and studied what it's like to erase identities, I saw that it's actually politics using religion as a primary factor
yeah,
to convince people to erase us LGBTQ plus people. So the way, for example, in the Philippines, pre-colonization, there was an equal footing for everyone,
yeah,
meaning that the society had leaders in a triangular form. You have the political leader, you have the spiritual leader, and you have the defense leader.
yeah.
All of them work hand in hand. No one is above each other. And the spiritual leaders can be trans people
Oh wow.
because people back then believed that when someone possesses both masculine, feminine energies, it's closer to the divine.
Oh, that's interesting. I never knew that.
Uh, and when I found it out, because the spiritual leaders somehow have a good influence to the society, I think it became the point of attack of colonizers.
Yeah, of course, they
Um,
need to get rid of anyone else with
mhm,
influence, right?
So they began to scare people and instill fear towards trans people.
Interesting.
And they called us witches. They called us curses. We received curses. Our ancestors received curses from them, and that's a very interesting
And
look historically.
and we're talking about the very Catholic Spaniards, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes,
who
we
were
are.
the
Sadly.
main the main colonizers there. I mean, yeah, I mean, of course, if we look at Dutch colonies, they were equally as brutal. But I think coming from one of the most Catholic, pious nations, it must have been even worse. Is there, because I hear this for the first time, that trans people are actually were seen as divine.
Mm-hmm.
Is this something that is also in other cultures surrounding the Philippines? Is it the Asian thing, or do we also have it? I don't know, in Latin America and in Africa. I don't know, because I can tell you in Europe, definitely not.
Mm-hmm.
That I can tell you. We definitely never had this.
uh,
Maybe in 2000, 3000 years ago, but not like in the last centuries. So where does it come from?
where when you look at it in a global context, yes, it's not just in the Philippines per se. There are tribes pre-colonization wise that respected all identities. And the primary role of trans people was to heal.
Mm-hmm.
We were healers, whether it be Africa, Mexico, Pacific Islands. It's very evident in historical records what the purpose of trans people were pre-colonization times, and that's why I am very much eager in forwarding this message that It's actually the politics
Yeah,
that erased our identities. And if we see the movement now, sadly, it is still politics
of
that
course.
erases us.
That's for me the worst thing when I look at for example, the ESN group here in the European Parliament, where the most far right part of the parliament sits. I like the AFD, or then even the. So we have three far right extremist
Uh,
groups, right? So we have pure radicalists. Then we have no, what do we have? So we have radicalists, extremists, and nationalist
what
chauvinists.
are the differences? Extremists and radicalists seem to be in the same pole.
It is, but it's also isn't. You can there's like you look at the extremists and you think, okay, that's how worse it can get,
Uh-huh.
how bad it can get. But then you look at the radicalists and you see it gets even worse. But what they all share is they want to eradicate basically LGBTQ plus people from visible society. And now, if they would really believe in that, if they would really, because of faith, or
Mm-hmm.
because they really are scared for their kids or for women in bathrooms, I don't know. If it would be that, then at least they would have a feeling that is true. Not that it's good, but it's true. But you see it with the vast majority of them. They just do this out of opportunistic political motives.
Mm-hmm.
It's for them. They don't actually care about trans people, about men kissing in the streets, about women marrying and adopting children. They don't care about that.
Mm-hmm.
But they know that using this to instill hate and fears in society and in the public is for them a way to power.
Uh-huh.
So they just use, for example, trans people in the same way as they use migrants or I don't know what, just as a way to get to power.
Uh-huh.
Because it's easier to base your politics on hate than on positive feelings.
Absolutely.
And that's so fucking weak. And it drives me crazy.
It is weak. It is definitely weak. And that's why when I when you raise that isn't that a form of like colonization too? Like this is another version of colonization in the modern times.
I would say it is definitely a way of misusing people for your own goals solely, as colonization was, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just coming, looking at a group of people, and using them to gain your own power. I would say them. The question is how many of them really think like the people who were doing the colonization that they are better. I
Mm-hmm.
think there definitely are some. Um, I don't know. I have one colleague that I fight against in the plenary all the time.
Mm-hmm.
He's called from he's called Jungblut. Yeah, young blood,
Young blood.
basically
Okay.
in German, and he's
How young is he?
he's not so young. And
How ironic.
he doesn't have good skincare, that I can tell you. And he's from one of those right wing student associations, where they fight with a sword and all that. And I guarantee you that he is of the opinion that because he's a straight man, he's a better man
Uh-huh.
than gay men, for example. Like
Mm-hmm.
he's a more manly man and all that bullocks. Um, so yeah, I think it's something that we learn as a Germans in school. We learn a lot, and maybe that's also why I say this whole topic to fight for LGBTQ rights is for me a non-brainer. We learn a lot about the Nazis in our
Mm-hmm.
school, and of course we we learn a lot about the war and about the atrocities, about the Holocaust, and we visit concentration camps and all of that. but we also learn a lot about the political side.
Uh-huh.
So how this political movement of the NSDAP developed and was able to convince the people. And the political baseline is you have inclusion exclusion politics. Basically the same thing I said a minute ago. So you define a group, for example, to turn it around. We are the progressive camp.
Uh-huh.
We are good. And Mr. Jungblut,
Uh-huh.
he's from the reactionary camp. He's evil. You know? And the same way they turn it around. They say we are good. We stand for family values and Christian faith and the desexualization of society. We are good. And there over there are all these trans people and these gay people, and they are bad. They are bad. And that's how they motivate. And it's just as I said, it's just cheap. And it's in the same way as the colonizers, as you said, we are white, we are technologically advanced, we are strong, we have the divine right by God to conquer these foreign lands and these backwater tribes, and they are bad and we are good. And I think that's it's human. It's how we work. We are in our mind from way back in the day, in the Stone Age. We are tribal people, so we are always try to define our tribe, and our tribe is good, and everyone else is potentially dangerous and therefore bad. So, but you told me before, and I was happy to hear that today the EU, Europe is no longer colonizer in the Philippines, but actually helps with your work. Can you maybe shed some light on that?
I like how you phrased it. No, it's because I was the leader of the organizing of the Pride March in the Philippines for 2 years
In Manila.
and in Manila, and I worked hand in hand with local leaders, and also at the same time members of the diplomatic community, and one of which are the countries that belong to the European Union and European Union per se. And I have received the solidarity of the members of the European Parliament, and it's just a breath of fresh air to be seeing these progressive leaders supportive of the movement, supportive of the desire to include and also at the same time embrace marginalized people like us. And seeing them work hand in hand in really amplifying what Pride is all about also amazes me, because as we've mentioned, we know that Europeans colonized the Philippines and erased trans identity. But now it has shifted.
Yeah.
The narrative has shifted in a sense that we're seeing these people recognize us. And that's a huge step for us, because it's difficult to be in the sidelines. That's number one. But it's also frustrating if you're not seen. Because if you're not seen, you're neglected.
Yeah.
And when you're neglected, you feel like, what's the maximum that I can achieve?
It takes away the wind from your sails, right? If you're not seen as a part of society, why should you go out and work? I find it very interesting that you draw this connection to the colonization, because I think in Europe no one thinks about that. I hear it a lot from when I visit other countries outside of Europe. I was in Syria, I was in Iraq, and Europe had such a big influence on the world political stage in the last centuries, and from everyone else's perspective, we were the colonizers, we were the conquerors, we were the one who divided up countries and people, but we don't think about that at all. And maybe I can reflect it a little bit more, because we in Germany we have this remembrance culture, but yeah, I see all the time how Europeans basically only look back the past 30 years. So after Cold War ended, now it's all good, it's all fine. Let's be happy. Let's only talk about the positive things. And that was because I wanted to ask you when you talk about the inclusion of European Parliament and representatives in your organization of the Pride. One argument that, for example, then the populists often make is. Why the fuck is European taxpayers' money spent on the Pride in Manila? Right? This is not our people. Even though we are all people of the world, but that's a whole different topic. And I think maybe that's one reason to say, okay, we suppressed a certain part of the population there very violently, basically all the population, but this part of the LGBTQ plus community even more. So now we also have to make up for this a little bit by supporting things like Pride, right? But what else? What would you say to people who argue that we should not be involved in things like Pride in Manila as the Europeans? We should not spend money on that and time and our influence.
That's interesting because the first thing in my head right now is that you are the people who raised us.
Yeah, exactly.
You are the drivers of why we are marginalized. You are the reasons why we are still challenged
Yeah.
at the moment. And maybe the least that you can do as we reverse what happened in history is extend a feeling of support.
Yeah.
Extend a feeling of support, extend a feeling um, of humanity, that our existence, we may be different from you, but we're still the same. We're all human beings.
Right.
We all want the same things in our lives. We all want to be successful. We all want to live comfortably. We want to have peace of mind.
Yeah.
And that's what we also want. That's what we desire. Nothing else. To be able to walk in the streets, not fearing that you will be violently um, uh, so you will be subjected to violence, to be able to like have the same amount of rights, whether it be education, the right to marry, the right to just be you, the right to identify. um you have those privileges. Why can't we have that?
I think that's something that a lot of people do not get. Of course, there's a lot of very big topics like adoption rights, the whole issue of that our sport is structured in men and women, and how do we deal with that, or uh, all of that. But the main problem which I hear a lot, and that's people who are not part of the Pride community don't think about, is, and you just said it, the wish to walk in the streets freely. If this would be guaranteed, I think then it would be way more easier to talk about all the other topics of inclusion in society. But we are we have a situation where, as you say, a gay man who has makeup on his face must fear, and this is what happened to my guest from a few weeks ago, must fear to be punched in the face in the streets just because he wears makeup.
Absolutely.
Where you as a trans woman must also fear for your safety only because you're a trans woman. And that's what we still have to solve. And so to say, like many colleagues in the parliament of the populists and the extremists do, this is about woke propaganda and LGBTQ ideology, blah blah blah. That's completely bullshit, because it's about people being able to walk in the street as they are. That's the level what we are dealing with. And as long as we cannot change this, how can we say that we live in a free society, in a democracy? I mean, just maybe to share, to touch on to touch on that. What makes it? What does it feel like for a person like you if you're hearing that hate speech in the parliament, in our parliament, in your parliament? I guess in the Philippine parliament there must be also a lot of people saying bad things.
Not only saying bad things, but doing bad things at the same time. I mean, what hurts me the most is that I haven't said anything, I haven't done anything, yet there's already prejudice.
Yeah.
There's already a judgment that I am wrong, I should not be respected, I should be treated this way. And for me, that minimizes and actually crush my spirit because I try to be a good person.
Yeah.
I try to be excellent in what I'm doing. I try to develop the best work ethic that I can possibly have. I respect my parents. I am supportive of my siblings and my friends. I try to be a good person
Yeah.
every single day. And people cannot see through that just because at the onset of my physicality, you can see a judgment already. And for me, that's what it's not just a frustration, but it's a heartbreaking moment.
I mean, I cannot even imagine, as I never suffered discrimination in my whole life. But yeah, I think this is the feeling that people who do not suffer discrimination have to try to imagine more.
Absolutely. I mean, if you present yourself, especially that you're a public figure and you're good looking,
Thank you.
and you stand proudly as a cis man, it's easy to like admire you. But for me, I need to be beautiful.
Yeah.
I need to dress up well. I need to speak well. I need to be my best. Yet, I can only achieve 50% of what you can achieve.
Yeah.
Isn't that unfair?
Totally. And I can imagine that it's devastating on the inside for your motivation.
It is. And in fact, prior to going here, I have been like reflecting about the future because I know that these are hard times for trans people.
Yeah.
What would my future look like? I have big dreams. I want to follow through those dreams. But there's a question mark in my head that always somehow resonates fear that what if I don't make it?
I think you're already doing it in that sense, because we have in this fight for equality that is now going on for a long time, a very long time. Obviously, in the Philippines, basically since the Spanish colonizers toppled the triple society that you described, and all around the world, but different times. So, in this fight for equality of LGBTQIA plus people, which is like a war, because there's different battles, there's different periods. Um, the progressive side was winning for a long time in the last decade. I would say 2010 to 2020 in total was a good decade. And now, since the start of this decade, we, the progressive forces, we are on the back foot a little bit, and we are losing many battles.
How does it make you feel?
I'm a history nerd.
Okay.
Right? I'm a complete history nerd. I already when I was in middle school, I was already enrolled in university in history classes through a special program. So for me, I see this in the span of centuries. So I'm relaxed because I'm very certain that it will
It will flip again.
It will flip again, and if you look at it's like a stock market thing, you know. It goes up. There's also, of course, crashes, but it goes up. When I was born in 1997 in Germany, it was still a crime when two men had sex. You could go to jail for that. Now we have openly queer members of government and everything. So I'm a bit more relaxed because I see it on I see the long game.
But shouldn't we guard it?
That's the thing, and that's what I wanted to say. I think there is different roles in different periods. And I think people like you, especially with your social media following, with you being an actress, a model, and also now studying, I think people like you can serve as exemplaries for the many, 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 many more people of the community that are fighting. And I think the role that people like you have in this period where we are losing the battle right now is to hold up the flag and to stand strong even in the face of defeat that we are suffering right now in this particular battle. And that will carry on the message for future generations when we are winning again.
Although, here's my thing. Because we know that history repeats itself, so it's circular. My primary argument is, therefore, we will expect that if we win again, we will lose again.
Yes.
So, for me, we need to have a certain step that can allow us to break out from that circle. So that if we win again, we continue to win. Is that possible?
I think so, yes. I don't think it's a full cycle. I said I think it's more a stock market. The thing is, and that's also why I'm so hopeful. While I understand the very negative situation right now and why I understand all these fears, I'm very, very hopeful because what I picture LGBTQIA plus people right now, I think you are in the same position that women in general were 100 years ago. So, and don't get me wrong, women still suffer structural discrimination in society. We are still not done there. Yeah. But we are very close, I think, with women in general.
Hopefully.
So especially if you look at the long game again, if you look at the last centuries, we have women who can walk the street freely without having a man to accompany them. Most of the times, especially at night, we still have dangers. We have women in leading roles of society without someone still questioning this in general. And we have women are very strong, organized, and can freely fight for the rights without the fear of being persecuted, at least here in Europe. I think.
Thank you for bringing that up. Because I want to challenge your argument.
At least here in Europe. At least here in Europe. And I think that women need to in my mind, if you sort it, I think women need one more big step to be totally equal. One big push. I think women still need to don't have to fear for their lives, to don't face structural discrimination in medicine or the laws, legal system, stuff like that. And I think LGBTQ plus people need two big steps. So I would say with women, hopefully we are done in 20, 30 years. And I think with LGBTQIA plus people, we are done in 60 years. So that's the way I look at it.
I'm no longer alive by then.
Yeah, that's why I said you must hold up the flag. I mean,
I'm not sure if I should be sad or happy, but at least in hindsight, moving forward, what you're doing, what I'm doing, are strong forces that can be seeds towards that future. If it's 60 years, then fine. I will be like, what, 98?
And you will still be alive, most likely, with modern medicine.
No, I want to die at 80.
Oh, really? Okay.
Or
But I never know.
88, fine.
Yeah.
No, I used to say that 75 is good for me.
Yeah.
Like, it's a good age for me already. I mean, 98?
I want to be at least 103. That's my personal goal.
Really?
Yes, because then I can say that I lived through 3 centuries. So then I lived
Fair
in the
enough.
20th, 21st, and 22nd century, and that I think it's quite cool. So that's my goal, 103, and then I can go.
Okay, you're a man of history.
Yes, yes.
That's an interesting goal, but 103?
I think medicine will be able to do wonderful things. And I can also tell you, I have, in Germany, we say, ich habe keinen Vertrag damit. And I think it translates, I don't have a
How do you
contract.
say it again?
Ich habe keinen Vertrag damit.
Again?
Ich habe keinen Vertrag damit.
Yeah. Anyway, no.
Yeah, so the idea is to say, I don't care. I don't have a contract with it. Basically, it says, I don't care about things. They don't bother me. And I will definitely go through some hairline fixture, maybe take away something. Easy, not like pimp myself up like many people do, but this gentle shows with gentle things that show that your body is aging. I will get rid of those most definitely.
So you are supportive of science and aesthetics.
Yes.
Okay.
I think especially with plastic surgery, there's a lot of people who take it way too far. Way too far. Like all these people who are pumping up their face with Botox. You can have a little, right?
I have a little.
Wouldn't have thought. And that's perfect. You see where you don't see it, but I think as soon as you see it, then you're going too far. In my personal opinion. Yeah, I don't want to judge anyone, but for example, I think things like the hairline.
How is your hairline?
It's okay. So
yeah, you know what? There's a theory that when you're 30, if your hair is still like thick, then you'll have it.
That's exactly the thing, because my mother's side, all the men have good hair till the very end. My father's side, all the men lost their hair in the end of their 20s. So for me right now, in the next 2 years, it's my deciding point of life. Either I will keep my nice hair, or it will all be gone.
But will it make you insecure?
No, because I will instantly fly to Turkey and get it done with.
Fair enough. At least you have plans.
Yeah, no problem. We got lost here in the personal situation.
We're now talking about beauty.
Fair enough. I mean, maybe to come to an end in that sense, what's your personal message for people of the LGBTQIA plus community, especially young people who still have to go through this 60-year timeline that I laid out?
Well, we look forward to that. Hopefully in 60 years, we would be able to achieve what we want, which is a world wherein everyone can freely walk safely and proudly.
Yeah.
At the moment, it's hard and it has become tough. But I am reminded by our ancestors from the community on the battles that they've faced. June 28th in the 1960s, that's where the first Pride movement happened through the Stonewall riots. Yeah. And that gave birth to the Pride March that we're experiencing right now. Without those people who were born before us, I don't think we will be experiencing this kind of conversation in which we are having our space to fight and even stand.
Yeah.
So, as I've heard from you before this podcast, hope remains. And hope is a valuable virtue and value that we must hold on to. So to the young queer kids, own yourself. Because it is through owning yourself that you get to discover the magic of your identity and the power that you can possess so that you can be whoever you want to be, identity wise, profession wise, and person wise. And
Be
those
proud.
three dimensions can make you the richest person, not monetary, the richest person possible who can actually say, I exist.
Very beautiful words. Thank you for sharing those.
Mm-hmm.
Final note. It's a tradition in my podcast.
Mm-hmm.
It's 3 quick fire questions.
Okay.
We have to adjust them a little bit. What's the grading system in school in the Philippines? How does it work?
It really depends. There's a numerical mark, and there's also like the qualitative percentage index, which is 4 is the highest, 1 is the lowest, or 1 is the highest, 5 is the lowest. It depends. But let's
Okay, so
follow the
we go.
fourth one.
Okay, so I have 3 questions for you.
Mm.
The first question would be then, what would be your school grade for the current Philippine government?
I have to be honest, and
Yeah.
I will speak as an advocate. We still don't have equality laws. It's
Yeah.
hard for us to pass an anti-discrimination law that will protect everyone
Yeah.
on the basis of gender, sexual orientation, and identity. So on that note, it's a 1.
Okay.
It's a fail for me.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah. But socially wise, I feel like we are still far from progress. And I'm talking about economics. I'm talking about social progress. So with that criteria, I still can say that it still is a 1. Up until we elect the right leaders with the right intentions who are not part of the dynasties, the
Yeah.
political dynasties.
Yeah, I read about that.
I think that's the time in which we can move forward.
If you would found a party, what would be the name of the party?
Anti-dynasty.
So AD. Very good. What's the translation in Philippines?
You know what? We also say anti-dynasty.
Okay, very good. Okay. And then last question, and maybe you can look directly in the camera. Your message to the whole world. What's your message to the world?
For everyone listening to this, it's good to be you. It's best to be you. Because if you are you, you create things that can actually contribute um, towards the society. And nothing beats the truest form of yourself. If only you can see through your heart, through your intentions, and through the possibilities that you can create because you are you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you as
My
well.
pleasure.